Hey there, math hoppers. In this video, we are going to learn how to solve multi-step equations, so let's get to it. All right, let's start happy. Let's think about unwrapping a gift. And what do you do when you unwrap a gift? You first take the ribbon or bow off and then get to the wrapping paper only to reveal the beautiful present. So, when solving a multi-step equation, like 8x plus 4 equals 12, think of the variable x as our gift that we're trying to get to. And the constant 4 is the furthest from that variable, and so it's the ribbon. And then the coefficient 8, the thing that's multiplied, that's going to be the wrapping paper. It's the closest to the variable. Okay? So, when you think about it like that, you must work from the furthest from the gift. First removing the ribbon, then the wrapping paper. So first taking care of the constant and then taking care of the coefficient. So we're going to add or subtract before we multiply or divide. So to solve 8x plus 4 equals 12, we are going to get rid of everything furthest from the variable first. And in this case, it's not too bad. It's just that 4. Here we have x, we have 8 that's multiplied to it, and we have a 4 that's added to it. This is the furthest. We are going to take care of that. This is the ribbon. We're going to get rid of that before the wrapping paper. We do that by subtracting 4. The opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. So subtract 4 from both sides. Okay, once we do that, remember 4 minus 4 is 0. That's the goal here. If you don't get 0 from this, you've done something wrong. So then we're left with 8x equals 8. Okay, now what's left? We have an 8 that's multiplied to the x. What's the opposite of multiplying by 8? Dividing by 8. So we divide both sides of the equation by 8. When we do that, 8 divided by 8 is 1. We are left with x equals 1. Okay? All right, let's try another one. This time we have 1/3 m plus 2 equals 11. Let's first go over the steps and what we would do, and then on the next screen we'll go ahead and solve it. So again, that plus 2 is the furthest from the variable. We're going to get rid of plus 2 by using the opposite of plus 2, which is subtract 2 or minus 2, however you want to think of that. You see a plus 2, the opposite is minus 2. Okay? Then we have a 1/3 m. Now, when you have a fractional coefficient, we want to then get rid of that 1/3 by multiplying by the opposite of 1/3. The opposite of a fraction is really reciprocal. It's 3/1. What I want you to think about is we don't want to have anything here in front of m except for 1. So how can I take 1/3 and make it equal to 1? Well, that's the definition of a reciprocal. When you multiply a reciprocal, or when you multiply something by its reciprocal, the result is 1. So that's why we want to get in the habit of going ahead and multiplying by the reciprocal of a fractional coefficient. Now, I know 1/3 is the same as m divided by 3. So some of you are going to see this and say, well, I could just multiply both sides by 3. And that's absolutely true. You could do that in this case. What I want to stress is that we get in the habit, when you see a fractional coefficient, of multiplying both sides of the equation by that reciprocal. All right, now let's see what these steps look like. We said we were going to take care of 2 first, so let's do that. Let's subtract 2 from both sides. The left side, that leaves us with 1/3 m, because remember, 2 minus 2 is 0. There's nothing here. So 1/3 m equals 9. Now, we are going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Yes, you could multiply by 3 because the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. But I'm going to show how I will always do it. Multiply by 3/1. I add the little 9/1 here so you guys remember how to multiply fractions. You multiply straight across, and that 9 is in the numerator. Okay, so cancel out my 3's. My 1's, of course, cancel. 1/1 is just 1. Everything on the left side divides out. On the right side, we're left with 9 times 3. And so we get m equals 27. Not too bad. Let's solve another equation that has a fractional coefficient. But this time, we really do have to use the reciprocal, and it will help us. So here are our choices. Instead of multiplying by the reciprocal first, we could distribute this fraction. We don't want to do that. It's just going to be uglier, and it's going to introduce more room for errors. So I want our first step to be multiply both sides of this equation by the reciprocal of 5/8, which is 8/5. So we are going to do that. Put 50/1 so you don't mess up. you're multiplying, and multiply by 8/5. When we do that, 8 divided by 8 is 1, 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 also goes into 50 on the right-hand side 10 times. So here we have 5 divided by 5 once, goes into 50 10 times. So now what we have is on the left side of the equation, we have x minus 3. Everything except x minus 3 has divided out. And on the right side, we're left with 10 times 8. So we don't have a need for parentheses anymore. We've removed the parentheses. Nothing is being multiplied to x minus 3 anymore. And we get x minus 3 equals 80. Now we can just add 3 to both sides of the equation, and we get x equals 83. Okay, let's look at another kind where we have to first simplify before we do anything. So in this equation, we have 2x plus 4x minus 7 equals 23. Well, 2x plus 4x does not make any sense. We wouldn't write 2 plus 4 instead of the number 6, and the same goes for 2x and 4x. So we need to clean up the left side of this equation by first combining like terms. And we're going to do that by taking 2x plus 4x, getting 6x. So we're left with 6x minus 7 equals 23. Now we're back to the normal ribbon and wrapping paper, right? We're back to adding and subtracting and then multiplying or dividing. So we go ahead and add 7 to both sides of the equation because there's a minus 7 here, right? 6x minus 7. If we want to get rid of minus 7, we add 7 to both sides. We get 6x equals 30. What's the opposite of x times 6? We divide both sides of the equation by 6. We get x equals 5. Not too bad. All right, let's do one with the distributive property again. So when there is a quantity to distribute, and you will know that there's a quantity to distribute because you see parentheses, you have to take care of that first. So you see this here, this 3 times the quantity x minus 5, you have something being distributed because there are parentheses. Take care of that first. And what's the most common mistake we make when distributing? We forget to distribute to all terms within the parentheses. So grab that positive 3, and remember it's positive 3 times x, positive 3 times negative 5. That gives us negative 2x plus 3x, right? We got this from 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Do not lose this negative sign. Equals 6. Okay, now we have to combine like terms again. Remember, anytime you have 2 or more variables on one side of the equal sign, so one side of the equation, you've got to combine like terms. See this equal sign here? This is the great divider. Everything to the left of this is equal to everything on the right of this. So these can get combined. When we do that, negative 2x plus 3x is x, minus 15 equals 6. So we can add 15 to both sides of this equation, right? X minus 15, the opposite of minus 15 is adding 15 to both sides, and we get x equals 21. That was a pretty nice and clean distributive property. Let's see a distributive property, whoops, I can't speak, where we are distributing a negative. So the equation looks like this. 4x minus 2 times the quantity x minus 7 equals 3. So many people say, what is that? A positive 2 or negative 2? Because I'm going to say, be careful not to lose the negative sign when distributing. I want you to grab this entire negative 2. This is the same as saying 4x plus negative 2 times the quantity x minus 7. So when you see a negative in front, grab it. Okay? You're going to take negative 2 times x, you're going to get a negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 7, get a positive 14. So we get 4x minus 2x plus 14 equals 3. Do not lose this negative sign. Otherwise, you have just a floating 2 here, right? You just have a floating negative sign here. It's just easier to grab it and distribute it. Once again, we have 2 instances of x on the left side of the equation, so we combine like terms. 4x minus 2x is simply 2x. 2x plus 14 equals 3 is what we have. So we can go back to just unwrapping the gift. We have 2x plus 14, so we subtract 14 from both sides, and we're left with 2x equals negative 11. Opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So we will divide both sides of the equation by 2, and we get x equals negative 11 halves. Fractions are numbers too. You can get a negative fraction and don't automatically think you did something wrong. That is our number. We're not going to change it to a decimal. There's no need to say negative 5.5 because a fraction is perfectly fine as long as it's simplified. Okay, now another thing to be careful when distributing is when we are distributing a negative 1. Most people miss this. If you have this 6w minus the quantity 3w plus 4 equals 11, this represents distributing a negative 1. You have to distribute that within the parentheses. Anytime you see negative in front of those brackets or parentheses, remember to distribute the negative 1. So let's grab it. Let's distribute it to 3w. So we're going to have a negative 3w. That normally is okay. What gets forgotten is saying now I have a negative 4 because of those parentheses. So I get 6w minus 3w minus 4 equals 11. Once again, I have two instances of a variable on the left side of the equation. So we're going to combine like terms. 6w minus 3w is 3w minus 4 equals 11. Again, we're back to just unwrapping the gift. The opposite of negative 4 or minus 4 is adding 4 to both sides. Then we're left with 3w equals 15. The opposite of 3 times w, or w times 3, is dividing by 3. So let's do that to both sides. And we get w equals 5. Okay? So what I want you to do now is pause the video. There's 3 problems here. I want you to go ahead and solve each of these. And on the next screen, I'm going to show you the answers. We won't go through them, but this is a good test to see if you're really understanding what's happening. So go ahead and pause, see if you get the correct answers. Okay, so how'd you do? First one, x equals 1.5. Second one, x equals negative 5. Third one, x equals negative 14. Hopefully that went all right. Remember, if it didn't, and you go back to the part of the video that goes over that, and it still doesn't make sense, you should be subscribed to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and take any problems that are giving you grief, submit them to us, and we will make you a custom solution on our YouTube page. All right, Math Hoppers, until next time, take it easy.